And by driving this one-size-fits-all solution, we are harming American families. The average electric vehicle is about $65,000 a year. That's way more than many families can afford.
So, Senator, I was very heartened to see your comments recently during a hearing talking about the price of electric vehicles. Many of you know I think the average price for an electric vehicle currently sits somewhere between about $65,000 and about $72,000. The median price of an internal combustion engine is closer to around $45,000 to $46,000. So EVs cost more than internal combustion engines, and that's relatively well known. What's less well known is the fact that not only do electric vehicles cost more, but the price gap between electric cars and internal combustion engines has been going up. It's not only been going up, it's been outpacing inflation. And who is hurt the most by this are middle and low income Americans. The single largest predictor of whether or not these individuals can escape poverty is not raising the minimum wage, it's not more handouts from government, it's access to auto ownership. And as a result of policies like this 82 grams per mile that the EPA is proposing, what I worry is that it is going to make it more difficult for middle and low income Americans to actually own a vehicle and by consequence escape poverty. Consider a poor household just for a second. Yes, the electric car costs $65,000. Yes, you're handing them $7,500 in credit. But guess what? At a little over $55,000, $57,000, they're still not going to buy the car anyway. Why? Because the average price that a low-income family pays for a car in the United States is closer to about $12,000. $12,000.
We have people in Washington, D.C. that are writing these regulations without any understanding of what life is like in the middle part of the country. That we're not all in big urban environments.
I think the role of government should be to enact public policies that maximize public good. That being said, I worry that without a plan to make electric cars cheaper for the masses, right, we risk increasing emissions in this country and widening socioeconomic inequality that we see on America's roads today.
I've asked the question, has anybody thought about how much power generation will be required by 2032 if we actually promulgate these regulations and 2/3 of cars are actually being sold are electric vehicles? And the answer is no. There is nobody at the EPA who's put pencil to paper to see how much more power generation we would need.
LFP is a chemistry that has what we call lower energy density. And what that means is that if you're trying to get the same amount of range out of a battery chemistry that offers lower energy density, you need more battery. When you need more battery, the battery becomes heavier, which means that the vehicle can't travel as far. And if the vehicle can't travel as far, what you need is an even larger battery to get the vehicle to cover the exact same distance, all of which pushes the price point of electrification up.
About 40% of what we consume now is going to be needed at some point in the future should we go towards full electrification. And that's just for the fleet size, if you will, of the country now. Certainly there's going to be population growth. Certainly there are going to be more vehicles than what we looked at some point in the future. And that's especially true if we're going to need more trucks to haul the same amount of freight. But
just kind of put it in perspective, to charge 2 trucks annually. 2 trucks annually is the same amount of electricity to charge the White House on an annual basis. Right? 2 trucks is the equivalent of enough juice to power the White House.
There's a cost for everything, and someone's got to pay. And the question is, who is that someone?
This sort of charging would require the same amount of electricity as 5,000 U.S. households. So that's a small town for 126 truck charging events at this one rural location.
If you don't have a plan for generating energy and you don't have a way to get all the critical minerals, what does that mean? The price is going to stay high. And that means families that are already struggling are going to figure out how to pay the price.
The EPA has long touted the virtues of considering the entire life cycle emissions of any vehicle. And here they are saying, well, all we care about when it comes to clean air is just what comes out the back of the vehicle versus the emissions associated with manufacturing the vehicle and manufacturing the fuel.
90% of the industry, our trucking industry, is based of small businesses, 5 trucks or fewer. And think about having to ask a company to spend 2 to 3 times what they're going to spend on a diesel truck or perhaps a natural gas truck. They're going to be left behind, and they will be in peril, and it's unlikely that they would survive.
Nobody is thinking through these solutions about how we get this done.